Okay, I'm going to show you how to do problems, calculate numbers using scientific notation with these three calculators. And so I have a problem I'm going to show you I don't want to go over the problem, I'm just going to use the numbers. So let's just get started, and then I'll show you how to do this on all three. Even this calculator, I'm going to show you how to do it. This one, I don't really like any of these calculators, but, there we are. These are common ones. So suppose I have some metal and I shine light on it and I want to eject an electron. This is the photoelectric effect. And so this metal has a work function of 5.3 electron volts. Don't worry about that if you don't understand it, because the numbers are all that matters. And I know that the kinetic energy of an ejected electron is the energy of the light, the photon, minus the work function. And so the question is, what's the minimum wavelength I can use? Well, in that case, K is going to be 0. I'm going to get an ejected electron with no energy. So let's say K is equal to 0, then E is going to equal to the work function phi. So I know that is 5.3 electron volts. I know the energy of a photon is hc over lambda, where lambda is the wavelength. H is Planck's constant. Oh, I didn't write down C. C is 3 times 10 to the 8th. Meters per second. So I want to solve for lambda. So let's set all this equal to each other. I get this is hc over lambda. Solve this for lambda, multiply both sides by lambda divided by phi, and I get lambda equals hc over phi. But since h is in joule seconds and c is in meters per second, then phi has to be in joules. So I need to convert that to joules by multiplying by 1.6 times 10 to the negative 19th. Okay, so let's write this down as a number. So the wavelength is going to be h. I'm going to leave off the units for now because I've already converted. 6.626 times 10 to the negative 34 times c, 3 times 10 to the 8th, divided by the work function, 5.3 times this conversion of 1.6 times 10 to the negative 19th. Okay, so we have a lot of stuff here. Let's just jump right into it with this calculator. Okay, so this is the Texas Instruments TI-30X2S. I don't like calculators, but this one's not bad because it's not like crazy expensive, and it does everything that you need. For a science class, you want a scientific calculator. A scientific calculator has the following. It's going to have sine, cosine, tangent. That's important. It's going to have e to the x. That's important. Natural log is important. A scientific notation. So in this case, scientific notation is represented by this EE button. So let me show you two ways. I'm going to write this 3 times 10 to the 8th. Okay. So 3 times 10 to the 8th, what that really means is 10 to the 8th is 1 with 8 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You could even write it out that way, but no one wants to do that, especially for 10 to the negative 34th, which would be a decimal and then 34 or 33 zeros and then a 1. Okay, so let's enter this 3 times 10 to the 8th. There's a common way that students like to do this, and they'll say, 3 times 10 raised to the power. Where's my raise to power button? I told you I'm not good with calculators. There it is. Oh. No. So I want 3 times 10 just raised to the power, not 10 to the power. That's squared. See, I don't even know how to do it this other way. 10x. I guess I could use that. Let's do that. So 3 times 10 to the 8th. Enter. And you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that's good. Okay, now there isn't raise the power button. Why can't I see that? X to the 2, x to the negative 1. I want x to the n. Oh, there it is. That's what I want. So 3 times 10 hat 8 equals. I get the same thing. Finally, the last way to do it is 3 second EE is scientific notation. And now that gives you a capital E. Don't confuse that with lowercase, the natural number E. And then I just put 8. And I get the same thing. Okay, this is going to be your best bet. The 3E8 using the scientific notation, because this treats this all as just one number. Whereas if you put 3 times 10 to the 8th, if I do it this way, I have 3 times 10 to the 8th. This is 3, and that's a number 10 to the 8th. And if you do, you can get in situations where it doesn't work. Let me just go ahead and show you the way it doesn't, something that doesn't work. What if I do 1 divided by 3 times 10 to the 8th? So if I do it this way, I'm going to write it out over here. 1 divided by 3 times 10 to the 8th. Who knows why I would do that, but let's just do it. So if I do 1 divided by 3 times 10 to the 8th, I get 3, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I get 3 times 10 to the 7th. That's wrong. If I do it this other way, I say 1 divided by 3 scientific notation 8, I get a much smaller number. This is right. Okay, because what happened in the other way, if you do 1 divided by 3 times 10 to the 8th, and I write 10 to the 8th, if I do it this way, let's write it out, 1 divided by 3 times 10 to the 8th, the calculator just does what you want it to do. So it says 1 divided by 3, that's 0.33333, times 10 to the 8th, right? If you would have to put that in parentheses in order to make it work, which you could do. So I could do 1 divided by parentheses 3 times 10 to the 8th. No, not 3 to the 8th. 1 divided by parentheses 3 times 10 to the 8th. And that works. Then it says do all this in parentheses first and then divide by 1, and then I get that same answer. I like the scientific notation way better. Okay, so let's do this with scientific notation. Okay, this I'm going to do it. So I'm going to say, I'm going to enter this number in first, 6.626 scientific notation. Now I have negative 34, so don't use the minus sign, that's the minus operation. I want to use the negative sign, which is right here, negative 34. I don't need parentheses because that's all just one number. Times 3 times 10 to the 8th, divided by, now I do need parentheses here because these are two different numbers. And if I just do divided by this and this, it will divide by this one and then multiply by that one, which is not what I want. So I can say parentheses 5.3 times 1.6 scientific notation negative 19, and then press enter. And I get, now okay, here is a problem. I can count these numbers. So let's just say lambda equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's going to be 2.34 times 10 to the negative 7th. Okay, I think there is a, what if I do this? There's a way to do this in your calculator. I just don't know what that is. Enter. Yeah. So you can convert that into scientific notation that way. Now, that is in meters. If you need to convert that to nanometers, you'd just say, well, I know 1 nanometer is 10 to the negative 9th meters. I'm going to do this because there is an important thing here. And so here, how would I do that? I would say, I have that number already. I want to divide by 10 to the negative 9th. So I can say divide by, I could do 10 to the negative 9th. Okay, but if I want to do that in scientific notation, it's going to be 1 scientific notation negative 9, because that E has the 10 in there. So this is 1 times 10 to the negative 9th. And I get 2.34 nanometers, or 234 nanometers. So this is going to be equal to 234 nanometers. Okay, next calculator. This one I don't really like. This one actually is very popular. I don't like it because you could probably find them used for a fairly reasonable price, and they do have some graphing options on here. I never use this one. I'm not really familiar with it, but I do know that they're not super cheap, and I don't really like that. So there. I think they do have some emulators on your phone that work for this, but I don't know if they'll let you do that. So let's just enter this number in right here and see if we get the same thing. So I'm going to say 6.626 scientific notation. I didn't even look at where this was. Okay, EE, there it is right there. There's the E. So I'm going to second EE, and then negative 34 times 3 EE 8 divided by parentheses 5.3 times 1.6 times 10 to the negative 19th, close parentheses, enter. And this one gave it to me in scientific notation. 2.34 times 10 to the negative 7 is the same thing. Okay. Now let's do, that was basically the same thing. Let's do this one. Because this calculator, if you'll notice, it does not have scientific notation. We're really limited in terms of the functionality, because I couldn't do trig functions on here. But I actually can calculate this with this calculator. I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay, let me rewrite this, because we're going to need to do a little bit of work, which is not a bad thing, right? It's not bad to do work. I'm just going to rewrite this equation. Let's rewrite that same thing. So lambda equals 6.626 times 10 to the negative 34th times 3 times 10 to the 8th divided by 5.3 times 1.6 times 10 to the negative 19th. And so no units, but that's what I have. Okay, I can't do scientific notation on my calculator, which I just found this, right? I don't even know what brand that is. Probably got it free. It's got solar panel too. Okay. So, but what I can do is use the ideas of order of operations and scientific notation to figure everything out. So this is actually a multiplication product. And so is that. I can change the order. So I'm going to write this as lambda equals 6.626 times 3 times 10 to the negative 34th times, I'm using dots and times, but I should say times 10 to the 8th. And on the bottom, I'm just going to write this as 5.3 times 1.6 times 10 to the negative 19th. Now, if I write it this way, I know something I can do, and that is, if I have 10 to the negative 34th times 10 to the 8th, then that's just going to be 10 to the negative 34th plus 8, right? Because I can add the exponents. If I multiply two things together, if you have x squared times x squared, that's x to the 4th, you add the exponents. So negative 34th plus 8 is going to be negative 26. I did that in my head. You could do that in the calculator. I could say 8. Oh, got to turn it on. I could say, this doesn't even have negative. So I can say 8 minus 34 equals negative 26. Okay. So I get, writing this out, I get 6.626 times 3 times 10 to the negative 26 over 5.3 times 1.6 times 10 to the negative 19th. Now I can get rid of this, right? If I have 10 to the negative 19th on the bottom, that's the same as 10 to the 19th on the top. So this is going to be equal to 6.626 times 3 times 10 to the negative 26 times 10 to the 19th, all of that over 5.3 times 1.6. So again, I can combine these. So I have 10 to the negative 26 times 10 to the negative 19th is going to be 10 to the negative 7th. So now I get 6.626 times 3, I'm going to put that all at the end, over 5.3 times 1.6, all that times 10 to the negative 7th. So now I just need to do this part. So I can do that with my little calculator. So let's say clear, I'm going to do 6.626 times 3 equals. And then I think I can do this. Divide by, now I don't have parentheses here. So I can divide by this and then divide by that. Okay, so I'm going to divide by 5.3. Divide 5.3 equals. Now I'm going to divide by 1.6. Divide 1.6 equals. And I get, put that right there. I get 2.34 times 10 to the negative 7th meters. And that's the same thing I got before. And I like this method because this allows you to you can at least get an approximate answer. Even if I don't calculate it the whole way, I know where I should be, right? If I just look at the exponents, I have negative 34 plus 8 is negative 26 divided by, or subtracting negative 19, and I get negative 7. So I already know around where I should get. I might get 10 to the negative 8, 10 to the negative 9th, or 10 to the negative 6, but I'm not going to get 10 to the negative 54th, right? I already know where I should get the answer. And that helps me instead of just blindly trusting what my calculator says. So hope that helps. That calculator's free. That one is cheap, and that one I'm not too fond of, but a lot of people had that one. So there you go. Hope that helps. And maybe I'll show some more calculator stuff later.